We're always switching between the whole and the parts. You cannot learn the parts if you do not find meaning.
It's a very tedious process of observation, documentation, and making specific child interest to build the curiosity.
That Montessori begins at birth. Montessori believe that writing should come first. Because whatever your thoughts are, you can put them down.
So there are no academics in the kindergarten. Students are mainly learning a lot through oral. So there's not a rhythm in the classroom in terms of songs, poems.
Reggio Emilia is very much a philosophy that needs to be imbibed. So if a parent is in the classroom, our voices are.
We're not focusing on the child, we're focusing on the outcome for society, and we want these finished products. And what that meant is that schools became big, classrooms became very large, and I think something breaks with that. With a microschool, we're saying, let's actually focus on the thing that matters the most. We call it the learning loop.
Admissions have become easier.
I really want to know who said admissions have become easier.
I'm sure the parents on the other side of the screen are going to disagree. Is the school the school? Nobody's answering that question. Do you feel like your philosophy, and one is obviously the parent chooses the school, and let's be honest on how parents are choosing schools today, and we were all talking about it before, that literally it's become, how close is it? Where is my friend going? Literally, which school is this play school or early school feeding into? I mean, I almost feel bad that you all have to literally, it's like feeling like a popular tutorial class with those bus banners going, which is like so many kids got XYZ marks in this. So are you guys compelled to feel like we also need to give results, we also need to look after the child, we also need to guard and protect the philosophy? And therefore, two questions here, which is one, do you attract a certain kind of parent with the strong philosophies that you guys come to? And are parents selecting schools just as which school does your school feed into? Is that part of the strong decision making?
So I feel that while selecting schools, it's very important for parents to first see what all is out there and what is available. But not just theoretically, but also visiting the schools. Because only when you visit the schools, like at Ubuntu, we do a 1.5 hour orientation, which frankly is like a workshop, to make them understand what the Montessori pedagogy is all about, how it's going to benefit your child. And parents also have to see whether it aligns with their value system. They also need to understand if the educators who are out there are transparent enough, they are approachable. So it's very important to make an informed decision, and definitely we are looking for like-minded people after this who understand our philosophy, because you may love the infrastructure, you may like the school because, like you said, your friends' kids are going over there, or let's say this year a lot of children got through the schools which we want, that's why we are selecting. But in return, we do try to take parents who understand the philosophy, because they are going to be happy parents, and when you are happy, you pass on those happy vibes to your children.
Right. So, anybody else would like to go for it?
I think it's similar for the Reggio Emilia as well. I think, for us at school, people, come in, they see the space. We often allow for trials in a parent-toddler, because in a parent-toddler, it's very different. The parent is in there, right? So the parent is also part of our classrooms, and it's important that they understand our agreements. And Reggio Emilia is very much a philosophy that needs to be imbibed. So if a parent is in the classroom, voices off, lowering your bodies, engaging very intentionally with the child, not having a mobile phone. We therefore even offer the flexibility when a parent is working, but we do want adult familiar, because they're 6-month-old children and they need to be close to them, where we offer workshops for the nannies before they come in, because they also need to know these agreements. So we take a nanny through three-piece workshop, which actually takes them into their childhood, which is all done and facilitated by Angela Mee, who's our pedagogista, so that they realize how valuable early years is.
But are we choosing proximity over philosophy?
So at Tridha, we see a lot of parents who are I mean, they understand the philosophy and they are very much aligned to the philosophy, and they come here for what it is. So there we have students from all over Mumbai. In fact, some coming from as far as Dhobi Talao, coming from as far as Mazgaon. The other side, they're coming from Thane. They're coming from Mud Island. It's not. It may not be fair, but they are so much keen that their child receives the kind of education that Rida has to offer, because it's holistic. There is a respect for the individual in the way we bring up the children and the way we interact with them, and also there is, I mean, because we are, it's an education of the will, and it's through the will that we are activating this feeling and this thinking, the thought process of the child, that it helps to develop wholesome, very well-rounded adults who are very well equipped to deal with this ever-changing world. And yeah, they are because of all the things that they've gone through. I mean, there are so many aspects to school, be it a simple thing like storytelling, or where they actually imagine themselves as characters of the story. So all these things, I mean, the story could of course differ from grade to grade. It could be a simple fairy tale in grade 1, it could be a story of a saint in grade 2, it could be maybe a story from history or the ancient mythologies in grade 5 and 6. But the students are actually living these characters. They're experiencing what it would be like to be in their shoes, and they're also seeing, while they're experiencing the joy, of course, even the pain, the strife, the struggles, all of that is very real to them. And this actually equips them. It is a teacher in a way, and so without the teacher actually explaining a moral or giving them, this is what the story is about, each one depending on who they are and what they understand from the story, they pick up whatever is relevant to them. So because the system is I mean, there are so many different things for different learners. Also, we believe a lot in art, so there is a lot of education through art, wherein there is, so we have drawing, we have painting, we do a lot of modeling with clay, there is music, there is dance. So all these are not really considered as mediums of expression or skills that a student should have, but they are an aid or a means to developing your soul. So your inner life can only be reached when you are able to express, and you have so many different ways of expression that you're not bound to just one. So the child is also left free.
Do you have the hardest to prove because you're the youngest in the system and the parents will be like, "Acha, kaun se school mein jayega mera bachcha?" Does that happen?
I think one of the good things about alternative schooling is you self-select for parents who are already questioning the system.
Right.
So which means that anything new is in a way an interesting thing. They want to understand what that is. I was just thinking about all the P's, the proximity, philosophy, pedagogy, process, and all of that. And I realized we've forgotten, at least which is so central to our philosophy, we've forgotten play. That is the most important thing. Play and playful exploration, and which makes proximity a valid concern, because it's the unfortunate reality that there are a lot of bad schools. Bad schools being, I would say, the conventional.
You just said it. There are a lot of bad schools.
I would say, I mean, yeah, if you're alternative, and I think everyone here,
schools.
yes.
Let's
Yes, so maybe, I think the moment you have an alternative school, I think there's someone who's set out with the right intentions to go against conventional industrial schooling. So once the heart is in the right place, I think as Nama pointed out, they all speak in the same language.
Yeah.
But the issue with, let's say, picking a school which is 2 hours away or 1 hour away is, in Bombay especially, if you have a child who's traveling for 2 hours, then, and on the one side we're talking about not confining them to classrooms, but we're now confining them to cars or buses, which is, and that becomes a hard trade-off, right? So I would say proximity is a valid concern.
How do you guys, your parents become devastated? Oh my God, I didn't make it to Harmony. What do I do? How can I change things around? What are you guys looking for from parents? I've thought that the toughest forms to fill, I almost felt like the toughest exam I've ever written is school interviews and those forms, and getting into play schools and things like that. That really validated my degree to the largest extent ever. So let me flip it back. What are y'all looking for when parents come to you guys?
So
Yeah.
we actually have a fairly long questionnaire we have parents fill out. And the single most important factor in that is, do they actually get through it? So that, and it's not sort of setting up a meaningless obstacle race, it's to see if there's a good fit of philosophy. I think I mentioned this, we self-select because
Yeah.
we are small, we're not a known name which has been around for 20 years. So the people who are already doing their research and reaching out, and that makes it so much easier for us. But we still want to see, because there can be a case where they've heard things about the school, but the expectations are, okay, this is a school where I want to send my child so that a finished product emerges. And the thing that we want them to really understand is, there's no product coming out, it's a process, and we are in it together. And I think that we want to make sure that there's that shared understanding with parents that we are all in this together, and that's the single most important thing we look for.
Got it. Got it. Anybody else?
Yeah. We also do orientation like Sejal mentioned. So we explain the system of education to the parents, show them the material, classroom. And while interacting, then answer questions. It almost sometimes lasts up to 2 hours also. And the person who's conducting the orientation usually tells us that these parents we should not admit. It can be very difficult later.
Right.
And we have a no screen policy.
Got it.
So first hand only when we meet them, we say that we believe in this no screen. If you are not going to cooperate, if you believe, you may have your own opinions about it, but then it's better that you choose another school.
Got it.
So
That actually brings me to one of my next questions, which is, the child is spending about 3 hours or 2 hours in school and the rest of the time at home. And today, more than ever before, we need a village raising the child. It's not restricted only to the parent who is the primary parent, in either case mother or father. There is the nanny and there is the grandparent, or there may be a daycare. How are these philosophies, which you all are so deeply passionate about and which is the foundation of what you guys are doing with so much love, passed on to the lowest common denominator? Because agar wo same language घर पे नहीं बोली जा रही है, then how does it seamlessly translate to what your philosophy is? And we come to the tech part of it, which is the big elephant in the room, but how do these philosophies get translated back at home?
I said the nanny workshops that we do, that was a very conscious decision because we wanted to give flexibility to working moms who still want to have their children partake in a parent-toddler program, which typically goes from 6 months up until 18 months. And if not ready at 18, then till 2 years. And then we have what is called the just toddler, which is, as it says, just toddler. So they promote to that, from parent toddler to just toddler. So when they are coming in for parent toddler and parent cannot come, then they suggest if the nanny can come, but like we said, a nanny or a caregiver, aunt or an uncle will go through a Reggio Emilia 3-session from the pedagogists, the understanding where it came from, why it came from, and how it's delivered, and why, and then again the why it's
And
is it
how do you
delivered that
translate
way
it back at home with every activity?
So exactly.
That's
And because it's such it's a philosophy that you have to really feel. The workshop itself is it takes you back into your own experience,
right.
and it's language also, right?
Got it.
So I mean, I remember back in the day, Beena and I did a workshop also with somebody, Lena, and it was also very language driven, on how to talk to your child, and you can say silence please, or you can say voices off, right? You can scream and say stop talking, or you can give a signal and I raise my hand, everybody is silent, right? Or so it's about using these positive signals.
Right.
And that's also told, because I've had didis or nannies be like, jaldi jaldi khana kha lo aur police aayega.
Yeah.
No, fears develop. Genuine fears develop.
Got it.
And it's not okay.
Right. How do you guys translate it back home?
So for us, we do a lot of workshops with parents even before they start the Montessori journey on how to practice Montessori at home without replicating what is in the classroom, because
And sorry if I'm interrupting,
Yeah.
but I'm almost thinking when she gave that scrubbing example, I can almost think a mom or a dad saying, you know, Didi kar do ye. Like, you know, literally, like there's just, our kids are so dependent for, like I know kids who are maybe 10 or 12 and still can't tie shoelaces.
Correct.
So I'm just trying to think that how is that being harnessed into home?
So basically, in a Montessori classroom, when they start very young, they are introduced to exercises of practical life, which are activities which the child sees the parent or the grandparent do at home, but they are not allowed to do it because maybe they don't have child-friendly appliances or they don't want to create a mess. But in a Montessori classroom, as soon as they enter at 14 months, they are given the freedom and the appliances which they can use. They can actually prepare their own meals. They can squeeze orange juice. They actually, with this functional independence that they gain, they are able to undress themselves. The older children are helping the younger children, you know, consoling them. It's such a close-knit community, and the children live how they live at home. So it's basically, you don't have to really replicate anything, but they are able to follow the same things at home. The workshop, what it does is with the parents, is gives them that confidence that this can be replicated at home in a different way. So I think that really, helps the parents.
Got it. What about you guys?
So at Tridha, we have a program which is called Bringing Tridha Home, which is mainly addressing kindergarten parents and parents of primary school, the parents, maybe even grandparents or nannies, and trying to educate them about how the manner in which we go about things in school. So they actually experience what a day of a child would look like. They have a shared meal like the students do in class, and so they actually live the day and they see the benefits of what the child is receiving, and then trying to emulate or trying to change things at home so that they also fall in line with the system. So bringing Tridha Home is actually for the primary section. They also have a Bringing Tridha Forward, which is for the high school. So we actually run up from kindergarten to grade 12 now. And so for high school, also to get them aligned with how you can actually work with teenagers, because it's so different, from the little ones are so very different from the ones in adolescence, and how you actually, it's actually about training yourself to work with them rather than expecting them to behave in a certain way with you. So molding yourself, learning about that. So these are the two programs which are held in school. These are short programs, so it's and they're held over weekends, so it's convenient for people to enroll for them. We also have a year-long program which is called the Steiner Education course. That is mainly for either parents or caregivers if they want to get more aligned with the philosophy, with the system, with the pedagogy. So this is so they have two versions of this also. There is a basic course which is spread across, so it's on 2 weekdays, Tuesdays and Fridays. So every Tuesday and Friday they would the people would be expected to come to school, and it's from 9 to 3 roughly. So they would be also spending and learning. So in the basic course, it goes from kindergarten up to grade 3. That's the kind of understanding and learning they would have, and they undergo all the activities. So there's music.
So I think it has become, what I'm sensing is it's become training the family almost to believe in your philosophy. So you guys are working like really, really hard to sort of cement that same language is spoken back.
I think parent partnership is part of schools,
Right.
and that's something that we do as well, and that's happening in the form of coffee mornings or even roundtables just start with cameras.
And we started this for our own kids. They're 9.5 and 5.5 now. And the thinking then was, okay, we're doing all this hard work, let's build a school for other kids. I think in 2 years in, we realized that, we had to build a school for parents as well, because they're part of this.
Yeah.
And I think Nama used the word intentional, right? And it's so important to keep that in mind, because, the pressures of modern life make us just run down a certain path, and parents are on that. It's hard for them, they think I'm dropping off kids at school and my job's done. But it's, in a way it's not. It's very important to be part of the process, to keep learning together.
Yeah.
So we even put a playbook together. I think we're going to do these courses. I don't know how long they're going to be. The playbook is still, it's a book, but it's still a book. It's text. And I think we need to be able to sit with them, translate this, and we do these meetings. We do try to do periodic meetings where we, see where we are.
Are
what
we
our
slowly
anxieties.
becoming an anomaly than the norm as people who are invested in these certain philosophies that are putting child at the epicenter of all of this?
Are we becoming an anomaly? Is that what you're asking?
I don't think so.
Or this anomaly is
I
going
think the fact that Montessori and Waldorf have been around for 100 years, Reggio has been around for 50 years, and have still not, I would have expected, or at least in an ideal world, they should have become mainstream, because there are universal eternal truths there as to how we should be child-led. But the fact that we're not shows that I think alternative schooling will be an anomaly. But I will say that I think the way technology is disrupting the world, conventional schooling was always flawed, but it was a system that served a purpose. But that purpose is just being demolished, I think, as we are entering this AI age. So on the one side, I think the inertial path is towards alternative schooling being an anomaly, but the radical disruptor of technology and AI can make us all wake up, and I hope we do, and then say, what, the world's going to change, technology is going to change, but the child is who we pay.
Are parents outsourcing too much to schools? Do you get, but it's your responsibility, you should teach this to my child. Do you guys get that? You're laughing, which means you do get it.
Yes, we do get it. It's not from everyone, but many parents are very conscious and what they are not doing right, they are aware of that. And we've seen most cases the parents are frustrated because they cannot help but keep the child away from screen.
Yeah.
Which is, while eating or things like that. So whatever we do gets just washed out.
Yeah.
They are learning to eat independently, they're taking care of themselves, doing everything, dressing, undressing, packing their own bag, everything. They are capable of doing everything. But here somebody is feeding them while child is hypnotized in front of the screen, and the nanny or grandparent or parent is feeding them, or running around the whole house and feeding. So all these things are happening. And so we do have meetings then. Whenever parents are expecting something from us which we are not able to cater to, because it's impossible if you are not following the philosophy. And we also conduct workshops to educate the parents, but if they don't attend them, we can't force them to attend.
Right. On technology, and I'm assuming all philosophies say away from tech and away from screens. How do you expect the parent in a world that's so infused, okay, maybe they're not watching the mobile phone, but they're driving in that car and that car has the Bluetooth connected, or you're reaching home and there's automation, and you're going to some other place and you're scanning a QR code. There's ambient technology everywhere, and that child's observing. Because in one of the workshops that we teach on money, the child, we had some kids and we asked them that, what do you feel about money? And it's like, it's invisible. Because to them, nobody's carrying change, nobody's carrying currency notes, everybody's scanning. So they're like, money is QR codes, right? Look at how the child's brain is wired. So how are you guys protecting and addressing the big tech question, the big screen question, when it's still ambiently present in all of our lives? Anybody?
No, I will say it. I think that, again, I start back with the parents are informed. So we do not tell them how to parent. Their philosophies are their own. They choose us because of that. Parents do not want to give their children screen time. Everybody knows the science behind it. They do not want to give a 6-month-old or a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. But yes, are we using our phones all the time? They do see us using our phone. Are they going to get their hands on it once in a while? Probably. How do we use technology to help us in this? We talked about being 21st century. Coding is a part of learning, and coding uses technology. These things are appropriately used at the appropriate time. It is currently used. Reggio Emilia and smaller classrooms, like those OPH slides on a projector, projected on a wall, whether it's creating the environment, whether you've got forest or whether you have light and shadow. Yeah, we do sometimes use it. That's technology. So it's used in these forms, and because we're a 21st century school and schooling is changing, you need to use it for the right reasons.
Got it. Anything else, Sai?
Yes. So we differ a little in this, in that we don't actually say screens are all bad. Of course, it depends on the age. So 6 months or 2 years, of course, that's too young.
Yeah.
But if it's a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, I think some screen time is okay, and this is where it's important to distinguish between what's good and what's bad. Bluey is a wonderful show, for instance, right? It's beautiful storytelling.
Yeah.
Chota Bheem is perhaps not. And then the dangers are that it's screen time or technology is not this unified thing which is consistent. There's also this very adversarial element to it. So if the kids are given YouTube, there's an algorithm that says, okay, I don't know who's watching this, but I mean, there's some recognition it's a kid, but it's built to say that we'll keep drip feeding short videos so that they're hooked, and that's really, really bad. So we have to understand that. The other thing about technology is when we say technology, we forget that writing is a technology, right? And Socrates, the philosopher, was very famously against writing and said that it would be a disaster for memory, and it was. But the thing is that writing allowed so many new worlds to exist. It allowed for communication. So technology, there's good and bad. Now we're entering a world where technology is not about passive screens. Technology comes to life with games, with talking characters. I have a nephew who is going to turn 2 soon, and he picks up mugs and he says, okay, Google Play or whatever, play me the song, right? So there's this understanding that, you can interact with it, it can do things for you. And that's inescapable. That's the world we're in.
Okay.
I think it's important to understand what's a good aspect of it, what's bad, and also the age at which, right? It's very easy for, and I talked about this adversarial element to this, right? They would, 10 years back, technology was something where you could have something playing on a screen that was passive. What's changed now is that it changes every 10 seconds. Right, and it's paying attention to what you're watching, and that can be really, really dangerous.
Right.
So there's both the good and the bad, and I think we have to be
watching
aware.
is no good, but technology, I mean, people learning, I know my son, he's 10, and now he's learning to differentiate what is AI and what is not, and that's being taught in school. It's important,
Right.
because they don't know, right? So, and they might be using their devices to do that.
Right. Well, how do
so
you guys try to balance?
So when I say no screen time, it's not watching any of those videos and things, because it disrupts the concentration building.
Yeah.
Until 5 years of age, children are capable of building concentration effortlessly,
Right.
provided there is no screen interference.
Right.
So that's why we encourage. And post 9 years in our elementary school, we also start coding with them. And also I tell the parents that they can definitely talk to their grandparents over a phone or even a video call, or when a parent is traveling, they can use the phone. I mean, it's not like no screen is no screen.
Yeah.
That it's not that rigid. But whatever is, and after 6 years of age, once in a while, watching a nice movie together is great.
Yeah.
But if the parent is with the child,
Co-watching is
to watch is good. But when the child knows how to start the TV, when both the parents are working and they have access to, they could be just just
What?
become very lazy, and
Yeah.
it's a very.
So what I'm getting from this room is no passive consumption. Technology is an enabler. Technology that is rightly paced for children at their age. Like you mentioned, Bluey, when they're fairly young, and as it progresses, watching and drawing boundaries and making connections, using tech to make connections, like with grandparents or with family or over a call, is something that is permissible across philosophies.
So I just want to add to that technology is something that is all around us, and it's not something like, especially for young children, it's not something that's going to be very difficult to adapt to or grasp. So why expose them when they are young? There is a right time for everything, a right time, a right place, and let's wait for that. Let's wait for that moment when they are ready to receive what the world around them has to offer. So at school, especially we don't have any real exposure to, I mean at school no exposure in the kindergarten, nothing major in the primary. It's only in high school in grade 9 when they learn about computers and they actually start working with computers. They maybe do a little bit of coding here and there, but depending on of course what they have chosen to do. But yeah, so when they are ready, they will learn.
Right. I just want to ask a couple of specific questions. Like in Rudolf Steiner, you emphasize a lot on imagination before academics.
Right.
How does this prepare the kids for a real world? Because at the end of it, and I feel sometimes, and I'm going to speak for a lot of the parents there, we believe in philosophies till they work for us. Then we sort of feel like, oh, but my child has to get into this school, so now come on, the real world is that they have to get into competition, fir ye karna hai, fir wo karna hai, job karna hai. India is competition, we are playing a numbers game. So I feel parents kind of use a lot of flexibility in what suits them at the moment, and I think it's very hypocritical. But are each of these philosophies preparing children for a real world, and do you sometimes feel like parents are hypocritical about it?
So talking about imagination, I think human beings are not computers and they are not to be fed with programs in order to learn. So imagination is something that is very real and it makes us who we are. It's a tool which each one of us is enabled with, and it sets us apart from animals, it sets us apart from every other living organism. So, I mean, I think it's a question which I throw to everyone, that don't you think if we don't nurture that imagination, we are actually killing something that is living within us. So, I mean, we foster this imagination, we let the imagination run wild, let it run free. So like I talked about storytelling some time ago, storytelling where they actually imagine themselves as characters, it nurtures, it feeds their imagination, but the lessons they take back are actually life lessons. So it in a way is preparing them for real life, but because they've actually enlivened or been through that scenario in somebody else's shoes, they've actually grasped different things about how to lead their own lives. Imagination also, I feel, is we have an outdoor campus. So like while Mumbai is very restrictive in terms of its population, in terms of pollution, there's a lot of chaos, commotion. The moment you step outside from your home, there is very limited, it's very limited in what you can do or what you can bring out to a child. So we also have an outdoor campus which is in the remote areas of Maharashtra, where we are almost disconnected from technology. We have our own outdoor farm where we take children, and so imaginations run wild there, and they're also learning life skills, social skills by being with one another. So we are preparing them for the real world, but by letting them be.
Right. I would like to ask a few, quick questions. If you had to give a classroom view, right? With microschools, with such small groups, how do you maintain rigor, encourage socialization, and balance parental involvement?
Socialization happens all the time by default, because we're saying, you know what, let the kids be kids, that comes first. Rigor is very interesting. I think it's this implicit assumption that we have to instill that. But the fact is, all learning starts with a foundation of self-motivation. So and rigor comes from that. I've seen that with our own kids, for instance, right? They may not like certain things, and it's easy to fall into that anxiety trap and saying, you know what, we need to instill that dedication where they sit with that. But I've seen the same kids sit with something that they really love, and they can sit for not just hours, like 6 hours, 7 hours building a kit together because they really love that. And what's very beautiful about this is rigor is very transferable. So, you know, it doesn't matter what you're building that in. You're building that in playing the guitar, you're building that in playing your game. You're building that rigor muscle or self-motivation, which tells you that, you know what, I'm someone who can get better if I put in effort. And later when, you know, as you said, the real world calls for something else, they understand, okay, I have to give that exam. Okay, fine, but now I know that I can if I put in the effort. Whereas when we try to instill that from an early age, the counterproductive signaling that's happening is you have to be taught. You cannot do it on your own.
Right.
And that's the sort of meta message that's going, which can be very bad. So rigor is something we think, you know, it happens. We just have to provide the environment, give them things to do, and they tap into that, and they see each other. They learn, and this is again a very interesting thing. I think the most meaningful learning happens when they look at each other, learn from their peers or slightly like 1 or 2 years ahead of them, which is where mixed age groups makes such a difference. You can literally see it in their eyes. They're looking up to a kid with fascination, right? You can have your educator or facilitator say something, and then the same thing is being said by a kid who's 2 years older, and you know, the body and mind have opened up to absorb all of that, right? So that's how rigor happens too, through all those.
Also with a lot of the international schools coming in and a lot of schools going international, has it become easier for y'all with the philosophies that y'all carry to integrate versus the Indian curriculum?
Definitely it has been. Now more and more children are staying with us for the whole of primary program because admissions have become easier.
Right.
And also I think it's a good...
You know, I really want to know who said admissions have become easier. I'm sure the parents on the other side of the screen are going to disagree.
Okay. No, there are so many options. Because of so many good international schools have come up, so it's comparatively it's easier.
Got it.
Maybe you may not get the school of your choice.
Is the school the school? I don't think so. Nobody's answering that question. Come on, guys. We need a teaser trailer for this one. Is the school the school? Nobody's answering that. Nobody's answering that question. Okay. Another one, which is, how often do you guys give parents feedback on the report cards? Given that it's such an interesting confluence of families, do you guys think like
daily documentation?
So the way we work is that every 3 months we kind of keep an open house where parents.
She has got the parent right. You are doing everything right. First you got the 21 past papers, which I am like blown away. Then you are doing so many workshops. Then you have an open house. I'm like, and as a working parent, I'm only thinking at the back of my head, how many times do I need to show up at school?
So not that much unless they request it also. So this open house basically is where we lay out the activities, what the children have been doing for past 2 months. And we also lay out the activities, what they will be doing in the next 2 months, because we do not give day-to-day report to the children. And at the end of it, the parent becomes the child. So we let them do the activity. So I would give her the presentation and the child is the parent who's manipulating the material. And that's when they realize how difficult it is for the little hands to do what they do. Because if just a gluing activity comes home, they're like, what are you doing the whole day, just gluing some shapes? But what goes on to do that gluing activity, getting the paper, getting the shapes, getting the glue off, the excess glue off of the brush, you know, and then being able to stick that, and the concentration that they have developed in that. It takes them good 15-20 minutes to just do that simple activity. So next when that paper comes home, the parent is very happy that, oh, he does have that good 20 minutes of concentration because they've done the activity themselves. And also we meet them formally at the end of the term, which is like about 5 months, where we have a very detailed report card where all activities are mentioned. So has the child been introduced to that activity? Has the child been thorough with the activity, or does the child need help? And then we discuss it with parents as a team and as a collaboration, what can be done. So that's how we move.
Anybody wants to add?
We follow what is called the developmental continuum. So each of the stages will have different learnings, including social, emotional, as well as then your sensorial and things like that. And these are observed on a daily basis. The report cards, as you call it, we call it, you know, in the form of parent interactions. The parent facilitator interactions, that happens about 3 times. And we also have what we call as mornings where we call them in to see, showcase, similar to, you know, not having it as a workshop, but showcase and experience what we do in class, and that happens twice through the year. So at least 5 to 6 times they are in constant interaction of what's happening. Plus we do provide daily documentation, which is not a report card, but is letting the parent know what has happened in class on that day and catching an aha moment of the child and drawing it back to the developmental continuum, you know, what skill it was.
One of the few concluding questions, which would be, if you guys have to reflect on each of your kids, or, you know, when you started, started on this journey to now, what would you have said differently then to how you were talking about it today? Like, how would your explanation back then about the philosophy or the pedagogy change versus what it is today, after you've seen proof of concept, you've seen so many kids graduate through the program, your own learning as an educator / parent? How's the narrative changed for each of you, some even 19 years into the system?
26
years.
So, no, initially the parents were 26 years back, 20 plus years back, the parents were extremely controlling. The kind of parents that we used to attract were quite controlling. They wanted the children to behave in a particular way, and they wanted that. So that time I always used to say that let them be. And now it has gone to the other extreme. The parents are just not bothered about any kind of discipline. They can do whatever. I mean, if they've set the plate and they say, no, today I don't want, okay, another meal will be cooked. So the demands are different, and they are giving into every silly demand of the child. So it's total, I mean, absolutely different. So today I have to say that please draw some boundaries. So that has changed completely.
Right. Anybody else? Sai? Sorry.
So I'll talk of myself as a parent. When I enrolled my daughter, or when we were actually looking for admissions, or thinking about it rather, being from a conventional school myself, I didn't want to, and I had seen at that point of time how these parents' mindsets were discussing about what classes do your does your child go to. I said, I do not definitely want that for my child, and I was looking for something alternative, which is when we stumbled upon Thrida. And so at that point of time, the only thing was I did not want her to put in the ritual and the rat of a mainstream school, and I was looking for something different. So that is what I think maybe I would have told someone, that this school is different in that sense, that you're not really doing the things that you would do in a mainstream school. You're doing, of course you're doing them, but you're doing them differently. But now when I look at it, her having done a whole spectrum from kindergarten right up to grade 10, she's in grade 10 now, and myself being a part of the system for the last 8 years, I would say that she's a well-rounded individual. It's not only the academics, but in terms of who she is as a person, very sensitive, so they also do, there is a social aspect, there is an emotional aspect which is also building, and the artistic. So there is an inclination towards music, there is a definite will to work with the hands. So I see that she is an all-rounded individual in who she is, and I've seen that in most of the children who I've seen across the years, that they are well-rounded individuals, and it's not necessary that, so like I personally feel that the mainstream education is more intellect oriented. I mean, we train the intellect. And here, when students come out of the system or they come out of school, they are not only, not everyone is, intellectually oriented. Some of them are very differently equipped, and it's beautiful because they are respected, they are looked up to, they have been seen, they have been heard, and they have been acknowledged for who they are, and they come out as very confident individuals. So there is a very holistic being which is coming out, emerging from the system, not only one who has been trained to use his head.
Right, right. So interesting. Sai, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I think we are the youngest here, I think. So 3.5 years, I think what's changed is, of course, we've seen the same trajectory with our own kids, how they've blossomed. And that's not to take credit, I think that's just who they are, and it's just us stepping back. What would change is, I think we were perhaps unconsciously focused on the jargon, the educational jargon early on, right? Because it's our own anxieties as well. Are we doing the right thing? We're taking a big step. So perhaps a lot of the conversations we'd have were too cognitive, and now it's all about, at the foundation is well-being, right? And that's around very, I think, multi-dimensional. And putting that in as simple terms as possible, right? The kids are going to be fine, right?
Yeah.
Let's not trap them with our hopes and anxieties. We can build these beautiful gilded cages with those, but let the kids be. They have all the tools.
Right.
And I think there's a lot more of this now than talking about, esoteric philosophy and jargon.
Also, obviously there is, and I keep saying this, there are many Indias within the India that we live in. How do you do a macro view, a more pulled out view into how each of these philosophies are shaping in other parts of the many Indias that we live in? How many Montessori schools, how many Steiner schools, how many Reggio schools, how many microschools are we talking about in India, and are they following it with as much?
Montessori is quite widespread.
Yeah.
Down south, there are too many schools because Montessori lived in the south for 8 years.
Right.
So it is really very, very popular.
Got it.
Chennai, everywhere actually.
And do you see more acceptance in some parts of India than?
Yes. So they don't even know, if anybody comes from Bangalore or Chennai, they don't need an orientation.
Got it. Got it.
So, and now in North also, Darjeeling has a school, Chandigarh has a school, Delhi of course has had schools since a long time.
Any of the others?
So Steiner Waldorf also, there is a great presence all over the world, and of course greatly in India as well. There are schools in Bengaluru, so Bangalore, in Mumbai definitely. There is a school in Ahmedabad. There is one which has been recent, so it's a Waldorf inspired school which has been started in Visakhapatnam, Vizag. So there is a presence all over.
Right.
I think there is one in Delhi, there is one in Ahmedabad. So there are definitely upcoming schools which may be younger, but they are all inspired by the same set of values that we believe in.
Right.
Reggio Emilia is also growing. I think it's quite popular in the West. Now it's coming, it's in India as well, because we do educator workshops. Our pedagogista does a lot of educator workshops, and we, because she's quite authentically trained in Reggio Emilia. She's come from the United Nations School, and we have so many people from Ahmedabad, from Jodhpur, Calcutta, who have.
So they're all coming and training with the pedagogy.
Yes, so
So Circles and Cycles is also spreading awareness on training for facilitators the right way, which I think is.
So we feel like we can only cater to so many.
Yeah.
And if that philosophy can be imbibed by more.
Right.
So far we've had almost 75 educators across India come to us.
Amazing. That's amazing. Last concluding question. We're speaking of so much of mental health and speaking of Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, which you guys may be working with, being very fragile. And we call them, we've almost, and I hate it, but people have almost nicknamed them as a fragile generation. And you guys are the ones raising that most closely. Do you feel these philosophies and pedagogies are even more important today than they ever were because this fragile generation needs it the most?
Absolutely.
I'd love for each one of you to sort of.
Absolutely. So Montessori has no reward, no punishment, no praise, no criticism philosophy.
No
Reward, no punishment, no praise, no criticism.
Okay.
So children have to judge themselves.
Right.
So this whole social media thing, which I posted something and I didn't get enough likes,
Yeah.
and person going into depression.
Yeah.
All these things are not, they are out of the way because child is used to self-judging himself or herself
Right.
from the very beginning. If a child comes with her drawing or asks me how she has done, I would ask her, what do you feel about it? And still insists on my opinion, then I would say, I see that you've put red color here and you've carefully done this. I would just describe the process, not label that whether it is good or bad.
Oh, interesting.
So the child learns to judge himself or herself, and because they are doing so much of practical life activities, cleaning, taking care of themselves, food preparation, so many things they are doing. They can independently manage the house,
Yeah.
if need be. If they are hungry, they can chop a fruit and eat it. They can maybe open a jar and eat some dry fruits, nuts, whatever. They don't have to cry. And they are not dependent. So in this independence, emotional independence, social independence, physical independence, taking care of, being able to take care of their needs,
Yeah.
is really great for each child, I feel.
Interesting. Sai, you.
Yeah, I think fragile is an interesting word. To me, that means that it's not been battle tested, whatever that is. And that also means that we have shielded them too much. And that's where play and playful exploration really come in, where play, the very nature of it, the word play and also what playful exploration stands for, is they get to explore boundaries, right? So as long as we provide this environment, which is not too safe, and I want to say that it should not be so safe as to be too over-sanitized, but a good simulacrum of the real world, they get to understand what the world is, right? They're transitioning into that, so it's not that much of a rude shock, and they already have built up in their own unique way, with their unique perspective, how they'll take on the world, what their place is in the world, and enter that with confidence. So I think that, let's not shield them too much, and the fragility perhaps comes from, putting that shield around them and then suddenly ripping it off.
Yeah, the bubble wrap needs to
Yes.
prove good. What about you, Gavi?
So I think Waldorf by itself is, we are more worried about, or we are more concerned with the process rather than the end result. So the end result is just a manifestation of what the child has been living through or has gone through. So the moment the process becomes more important, you're actually becoming free of the result. So it's what I think the generation also needs, that you give in your best, you do what it needs, and then you don't worry about the outcome. So being more process oriented, putting in yourself, immersing yourself in that process, so basically deeply immersing and not worrying about the outcome, and also leaving each one free to take in what they mean or what they understand out of what someone has delivered to them. It also develops their own thinking, so it helps them, and it creates children or even adults in the later stage of life, wherein they are capable of thinking for themselves. They are not bound to a particular mindset or a particular way of thinking, because they have been left free. So They have we don't do academics in the kindergarten. We usually we delay exams till high school. So the world is left a possibility for these children to grow, and we believe that the world is their playground, and we let them achieve it very slowly and gradually.
Starting. Anything that you
Yeah, I just feel that Montessori, it tells you to kind of observe and keep the child's needs in mind. Yeah, and also trusting the potential that the child has, and offering real life experiences, and preserving concentration and joy of learning. This allows them to really build a very strong foundation early on.
Right. Interesting. Nama?
I think the pillars of Reggio, the child is competent is number one. They're always seen and heard. Whatever they do is documented and validated. And learning to express yourself. I think we do a lot of expressing yourself within the classroom, which tomorrow if a child needs something, needs to tell an adult, needs to express them, that tool is given to them. So I think that's very important growing up, and as we all get older and children become bigger, we need the help around, and collaboration, social skills, these are all what prepare them for any environment that they go to.
Incredible. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been incredible to have this conversation. I'm sure that our audiences and all the viewers and listeners are going to have a time they've had the provocation. Now it's going to be time for absorption and reflection, perhaps. And I'm sure it's going to give them enough food for thought for, just making more informed choices. Which one is the right one, instead of saying, कौन admission दे रहा है, कहाँ जाना है, am I making it at school? I just feel like, I just hope that for even 5 parents who make this choice for their child versus just using it as, where is this feeding into, I feel like we've achieved our job, and I'm sure we'll reach much more than that. But I really hope that it empowers a lot more parents in making more informed choices. So thank you so much.
For parenting tips, celebrity interviews, recipes, conversations with experts, DIYs, and lots more. Subscribe to Kidsstoppress now.